Good morning. This is April Jackson of the Jackson Sewing Academy, and this is Saturday live events where we do everything from doing clothing alterations. We will do that in real time. Today we're doing something a little different. As you might have found out a couple of weeks ago, my brick and mortar studio is in the process of moving. Right now I'm renting space here in London, Ontario, and my lease is coming up, so I made the decision to work from home. And I love that concept because I like being at home. I'm just one of those people who like being there. So I'm in the process of dismantling my brick and mortar studio here. And in doing so, everything is kind of in an upheaval. At home, we are renovating some space in the basement, and that is not quite done yet. Here at the brick and mortar studio, I'm in the process of packing everything up, deciding what to keep, what I need to sell, and what I might just donate to get rid of. With that in mind, I don't have a place to sew where I can actually videotape and do that type of lesson. So today we have decided we are going to do a question and answer. With that in mind, we have asked for some questions in advance. We do have some from our reviewers as well as some of our students that we will discuss. If you are here now or coming within the next hour to 2 hours, feel free to send a question. Right now there's just me here. I'm doing both the talent and moderation. I am keeping track of what will come in. So if you do have any questions or comments, let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. When I am presenting question and answers to people who are in this trade, I find that a lot of the questions come around the business aspect. There are lots of tutorials that teach sewing, and I also teach a lot of sewing techniques within the alteration trade. But there is not a lot of information out there for business itself. Whether you are choosing to be in business at home, whether you want to work for somebody, there are many different routes you can go. These are the questions and the answers that I find are not addressed. One thing that's great in the Jackson Sewing Academy curriculum, that is one area we do elaborate on. And it is one of those things that is really lacking when there are other people and other websites that say they teach clothing alterations, making sure it's all encompassed into one where we're teaching both the skills but also the business aspect of it. That's what makes Jackson Sewing Academy a complete package. It's one of those things I'm very proud of, and I have over 35 years of experience, which is tried and true. I have learned a number of lessons the hard way. If I can pass these skills and some of these things on to you, then that makes me happy, because if you can learn something and do something without having to learn it the hard way, that is always a great bonus. So I want to begin here. The number one question I get when I present a question of an answer is generally, how do I create my pricing? How do I charge? One of my students has asked both these questions, and there's a couple of variations. First of all, do we charge by the hour? Do we charge by the job? There are many aspects of charging, so we are going to touch on to all those as well. I will try not to talk in circles because a lot of things get in my head, but I'll try and keep as focused as possible and break down how I figure out how to charge when it comes to pricing your alterations. I do want to mention that on the website we have a blog, which we will put the link up. I was trying to share my screen, but that's beyond my capabilities right now. But we will put within the remake of this event, we will put links to any blogs and any material on the website that relate to these topics. The first thing I want to address when it comes to pricing for alterations. As it stands right now, clothing alterations and the sewing trade is not regulated in any way like other trades. When I mention other trades, I'm referring to trades such as hairdressing, painting, home decor. I'm trying to think of trades which are within the same, I'm going to say, difficulty level. Baking. These are all trades that if you choose to go into, you generally have schooling, you have training, and then you have regulations. And when I mention regulations, I'm talking about standards. There is a set of standards that each person must follow. They are taught those. So across the trade, whether you're doing that trade here in London, Ontario, on the other side of Canada, or even somewhere in the US, there are expected standards, expected time to have certain jobs finished within. These standards also help protect the client. With that in mind, sewing and alterations are not within that umbrella. Some people think that's a good thing, and where it is a good thing, if you want to get into this trade now, there is no official schooling you have to do. You can just open your door, put up a placard saying clothing alterations here, bring your stuff, and you can start working. That is not bad, but it's where it's not the best is that there's still no protection for the client. There's no guarantee that you know what you're going to be doing. And as well as if I take my things to somebody and they tell me they can do a pant hem, and I give them my pant hem and my items are ruined, I have no guarantee to know whether this person has the skills other than their word. That is where regulations come in. And that is where it would be a good thing if that did happen. It's a long process, not one I can get into right now myself, but there are benefits for it. I know I'm sounding long-winded on this topic where we started out with pricing, but this is where it's very important. When something is regulated, like a trade, that helps us as those in the trade because it helps increase our worth. I believe that one of the reasons why sewing and alterations has not been reviewed or looked at as real work is because there's really no training. You learn it on your own. Somebody comes in and they think, well, you didn't go to school for it, so they don't feel that your skills and what you have learned and what you're passing on to them is valued to where I want to receive this much money for the task I'm doing. Regulation helps with that. That's one of the biggest bonuses, is that it helps with that. But it also helps create a standard for each job. When something is done, something simple like a pant hem, one person does a pant hem and it can be done in 5 to 10 minutes. Somebody's doing it in 15. Someone's taking half an hour to an hour for that same pant hem. Which is the right and which is the wrong? The person who's taking an hour, are they expecting to be paid for 1 full hour for that? Is the job that they've finished worthy of an hour's wage? Regulation and having set times and times for when jobs need to be done help us narrow that down. But it also helps us figure out a pricing. When I start talking about pricing, I'm going to talk in the realm of having a set time. The job should be done within this time frame, and therefore that's how we're going to base our price, our standards for pricing. So I see Peggy Ann is here. Welcome, Peggy Ann, and happy Easter to you. This is a great weekend for us as a Christian. Okay, back to pricing, because I tend to talk in circles, and if I do, you can always just bring me back. When I get into pricing, now we're also going to talk about where you're sewing. Pricing varies from the person who is sewing for themselves. I'm trying to earn a living and I'm supporting myself. I need to work and make enough that I can live off of. Then you have the person working at home who is sewing for cash, or whether they're claiming it, I don't know, but they're doing it for extra income. Let's say it's an individual who their spouse works and they do not necessarily need to support themselves, but they want extra income. Therefore, when I charge an hourly rate, that person will not require or really care how much they get as much, because it's for a whole different reason. It's just for extra income. So let's say I'm that person. I just want some extra cash for myself. I decide I want to make about $100 extra a week. So when somebody brings me a garment, I do the pant hems, let's say $8, when everyone else is charging $15, because I only need $8. That's $8 I don't really need to have. Word gets around that I do $8 pant hems, which is half the price of everyone else. So then I start getting more work, and I start taking work from the individual who needs that money to live off of. It's a free country. So far, we can do that. But here's where the problem begins. My undercutting of the price helps me, but it also hurts those in the field. When I don't charge a standard price, then what happens with that is the person who goes to the business, yes, it would, and then therefore somebody's going to come to the cheaper one, even if they do good work. That's where we need to have some standard pricing. Hi, Erin. I will be talking about pant hems and how they vary in technique. Yes, and that will include a basic pant hem, and that's where I'm going to start talking on next, is our basic pant hem. I like to base my pricing off of my pant hem. First of all, how much do you charge for a basic pant hem? It's important to call around to other businesses within your area. They've already have some pricing. I like to call somebody who works from home. I call a couple of people pretending I'm a customer. I also like to call businesses, bigger ones, when I say bigger ones who have more than one employee, as well as more mom and pop ones, to get an average price range for what a pan hem would be. And when I say a basic pan hem, for me, I consider a basic pan hem a jean hem, which is your half-inch rolled hem, whether that also is the 1-inch rolled hem, where you roll it twice, and top stitch. I also consider a dress pant to be a basic pant hem. We measure a pant, cut, serge, use the blind stitch. The reason I do that is because all those pants hems can be done in 15 minutes, and that's my window for a basic pant hem. That's the max I want to spend on a basic pant hem. All of those can be done in sometimes 5 minutes, but the dress pant may be 10. But that is what I consider to be a basic pant hem. I charge the same price for all those. I have seen some businesses which will charge for a dress pant hem because you're cutting, serging, and using the blind stitch. I have seen ones that price more for those. And in some locations you can. I believe in a major city, you may be able to. I like keeping it simple, as well as I like keeping it simple for my customer to a certain extent. Let's look at haircuts again. If I had a basic haircut for a woman's haircut, if it's going to take this long, whether I got the pixie cut or whether I got my, let's say, medium length cut to my chin, the hairdresser is going to look at the time it's going to take. So they consider that still a wash, cut, and style. That's why I do that with my basic pant hems. I consider whether I do a rolled hem, whether it's the half-inch jean or whether it's the 1-inch rolled hem, that to me is a basic hem. I charge the same for those. I actually charge the same as well for a cover stitch. I have a cover stitch. The reason I have one is because they are so prevalent now. Many years ago, that was having a yoga hem would be considered a rarity. Now they're everywhere, whether it's from a track pant to a yoga pant, many skirts and dresses. I have my cover stitch, and when I use that, I still consider that a basic hem, because as somebody in the trade, it's my responsibility to have what my clients need. So if they're bringing me these things, if I say, well, oh, I can't do that and I have to buy a whole new machine for that, then it just doesn't look good, not in my opinion. So I make sure when I have what I need, and that too would be considered a basic hem. I do know there are other businesses, they charge more for such a hem. If you want to and you can, go ahead. I just don't. Okay, so for pant hems, I don't necessarily, the rolled hem is considered what I would consider my top stitched. So that is the 1-inch top stitched, or whether it's a half-inch top stitched. I charge the same for those, whether I serge, and I don't hand sew. That's just not something I'm going to do. If my blind stitcher was broken and I had to hand sew something, then I charge the same. That's not my client's problem that I don't have the proper machine. So yeah, I don't even hand sew. There's really no pant hem that I know of that would require hand sewing in today's world. If someone insisted that I hand sew something, I would charge like at least 3 times that, just because there's no need for it, not with the machinery we have right now. So I have my base price. So we have that base price. The key is to do your pant hem in the same routine all the time. We take the pant off the hanger. How much are we hemming it? Let's say we're hemming it 3 inches, or we're doing an inseam. Lay the pant down, determine our mark. Let's do our marking. We're doing our cutting. We go to the appropriate machine. We do what we need at the machine. Then we come back to the table, and on the long end, that should take 15 minutes. Make sure everything's set up properly. That's one thing, I think, how to have simple workflows, making sure when it comes to serging something, I have my serger set up. Usually I kind of have an idea of what colors I'm going to be working on. So then my serger will already be set up with those. Remember, within color matching in our modules, I think it's in the manual, having a medium color in there, let's say a gray, then you can just change your top color cover. Erin says she doesn't know how to do a blind hem on the machine. And I have tried the blind hem on a standard machine, and it works. It's okay. I would recommend, if you're going to be doing clothing alterations and you want to do it professionally to charge people, it's worth getting a blind stitch machine. You don't necessarily need to get a giant one with the table. The blind stitch machine that I have is from Wawak. No, it's from Reliable Sewing in Toronto. And it's a heavy steel one, but it's actually portable. And I think it's under $400. Lasts you forever. I had 2 just in case one broke, but it's perfect for that. And once you use a blind stitch, you will never want to hand sew again. It just makes everything so easy. And if you're going to be doing this professionally, you might as well make that something you're going to invest in. Sometimes too, with a blind stitch, look around. There's always somebody who has one who is looking to get rid of it, but a blind stitch machine just makes it much more professional, where your domestic machine will do that sort of stitch. The trick is getting the zigzag part. When you're using it on a traditional machine, what happens is it'll go stitch, 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 pop over with a zigzag. And when it pops over, you want to just catch a pinch of the fabric of the fold that's going to hold your hem up, and then goes back over here, 1, 2, 3, catch a piece of the fabric. Where that's more challenging is that you're using a straight needle, which is punching through your fold. And unless you just catch the fold, you're going to see more of that stitch on the good side. It's not that it's impossible, but it's not the best looking. With a blind stitch machine, you have a curved needle. And what's great is the curved needle will just pick 1 or 2 threads if you need it. And that's where you get that more professional look. So it's not that it's impossible to do on a regular machine. I just would recommend that if you're going to do this professionally, it is so much worth getting the blind stitch machine. And like I said, you don't need to get one with a full table. They do exist, but having the tabletop one to me was a game changer, especially whether I'm here at the studio or taking it home. I just keep it underneath my sewing station until I need it, and it's all steel components, exactly like a traditional blind stitch. I can just move it around. Like I said, that's from a Reliable Sewing Machine, and I can also put that link. We'll have that link put in for you so you can find that. But I would recommend that to make those hems, because once you learn how to use it, I just can't tell you how happy you're going to be. Because I sit down, I serge my pant hem, then I move right over to my blind stitch, which is sitting right here, do the blind stitch, and I'm done. And then I'm back to pressing, still done in like 15 minutes. So the blind stitch is amazing for skirt hems, any draperies. I used to use the blind stitch all the time when I worked for a drapery company. Just makes everything just so much simpler. And if you're doing anything like for especially menswear, you're going to be doing a lot of pant hems. So let's make sure we're getting that machine, working to get that one. And like I said, it's under $400 for something like that. And that to me, if it's under that, I think it's a really good deal to be getting. So now I want to kind of backtrack and focus back on our basic price. The reason I say I base a lot of my how much I'm charging with my pant hem, because my pant hem is my bread and butter. Because I like to have my pant hems done in 15 minutes, it helps me gauge how much time I'm working on other projects. I do pant hems right now at $15, and therefore I base my hourly rate at $60, which is 4 pant hems. I can do more than 4 pant hems an hour, and that's your goal too. You want to do more than that if you can, but at $60 an hour, it helps me gauge the rest of my projects. Let me explain that better. My hourly rate is based on a couple of things. It's based on me working in my studio. It's also based on me when I worked for an alteration business here in Canada, back in the day when I worked for them. The hourly rate that every employee had to work from was $38 an hour. Back then, $38 was ample for them. I am almost, without even having to ask, guaranteed that that is not their hourly rate now. With minimum wage going up to $17 and change in Canada, I bet you that hourly rate now is, I'm going to say at least $50, possibly $60, but I'm going to say $50 an hour. When I worked for them, there were people working for some of the higher end employees were working at about $16 an hour. We're one of the higher paid ones. So now with minimum wage being at 17 and change, I would assume that the more skilled employees would be working at maybe about $22 to $25 an hour. So in order for a company to make a profit, they almost have to triple that. How much am I paying my employee? Plus, you got to remember everything from, employee taxes and matching. An employer has to match everything and do all this other stuff. There's that. How much for the business to run, and then how much for profit? And even with those numbers, there's always variance. We know that. So at $60 an hour, $20 is covering at least an employee or myself. Then $20 is going towards running my business. And then $20 for profit. Sounds like a lot, but believe you me, it gets eaten up real fast. When you have an employee, you would not that's the only time you're going to understand how much money goes out into benefits and paying their taxes and vacation pay and all the things you have to match. Then your own business, whether you've got rent and utilities and insurance and supplies, marketing and advertising, all that totals up really fast. Then you want to have some profit. With that profit margin, always think that if something else, let's say my wages were more, let's say my expenses were more, that's going to eat out of that profit. So that's why you'd be better off to make sure you had more than not enough, because otherwise it's just coming out of your profit. So you want to make sure you're making some money. So with that in mind, working and aiming for $60 an hour, if you're working for yourself at home, is not far-fetched. Do not undercut yourself and do not work for less. Anyone else of any trade, they're not sacrificing their wages for nobody. I want to give an example. I took a tire to have a little patch done a couple doors down, and they said it took like 5 minutes for them to do it. I believe it cost me about $35 is what they charged me for 5 minutes at this garage, one person. So why are we doing any less? You can't tell me that putting a patch on a tire, like they didn't even have to take the tire off for this particular thing. They plugged it. They put a plug in, which is like push the plug in, and that was $35. And the person told me it took me 5 minutes, $35 for that 5 minutes to put this plug in the hole in your tire. Why would we charge any less? Because it's not just for pushing the plug in. First of all, it's knowing which plug to put in. That employee had to get paid. The garage has to get paid, and somebody needs to make money. So we're not going to charge any less than that. If $35 for the 5 minutes, let's say it was even 10 minutes, do the math, how much, I think it was like at least $100 an hour, if not more, just to take something into that garage. So not saying we are going to be charging $100 an hour, but we are definitely not going to undercut our skill. And it all boils down to the fact that the person bringing the work in does not know what you know. If they did, they'd be doing it. So that's the value there. Anyone in a trade, one of the greatest books to read, and which is based on just services, it's called Selling the Invisible. When you do any type of service, yes, you have a product or something you did to something tangible, but technically you're selling an invisible product. You're selling your service, that your skill, your knowledge, and what you know how to do. It's not like somebody's buying a mascara, which they can hold in their hand and see and test. So there's a much different marketing and outlook when it comes to something like a service. And selling the invisible, what's great with that is it helps you put in perspective your business. And you're not just selling your time, what you know, you're selling the fact that you know how to do it, that the person bringing it in does not know how to do it. When you get better and you can do those pant hems in, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes, you don't charge less because you have worked and trained so that you are better. So you can do it in that time frame. So you don't charge less. You're just doing it better and you know more than what they know. So there's so much different value within a service than an actual product. And you really need to understand that. And you need to understand really the value of that. Do not undercut yourself. I do know also when you work for yourself or any type of trade, how often do I get people bringing in one pant hem? How much is a pant hem? It's $15. Oh, how much is if I give you 4 of them? Well, 4 times 15 is 60. It doesn't change just because I'm doing 4 pant hems. But there's that, I don't know, belief people think that, oh, you work for yourself. You don't have to charge so much. Yeah, but I need to live just like you need to live. I don't want to always just be scraping by. I'd like to actually, take a day off sometime would be nice. So those are just things just to keep in mind. I'm back on another tangent. So let's get focused back on here. So we're back to our hourly rate. So with your hourly rate set, and then also keep in mind how long things are going to take, we want to make sure we're working at least at a $60 an hourly rate or more. More comes in hand in where if I have a pant hem and I can do 10 pant hems in that hour, instead of $60, I am making $150 if I can do 10. So it just shows you where we can vary that price range. Then you have jobs that take half hour to an hour. So I'm going to look at things like a zipper. When we do a zipper in a pair of jeans or in a dress pant, those jobs should take you 20 minutes to half an hour at the most. I want to ask first, before we go any further, those who are watching right now, have you had a chance to download the Alterations Time-Profit Calculator yet? This is a free resource from Jackson Sewing Academy. If you have, let me know. If not, let me know. And that's something that if you do want it and you don't have it, put pricing calculator in the comments and we will make sure that you get a link for it. It's a free resource. What I had done was I took standard alteration tasks, basic pant hems, a dress pant hem, jean zippers, coat zippers. And what I did was I made a working Excel chart. And this chart or this program, what it does is you can pop in the task. It is usable. You can put your name and whatnot in it, or the amounts. Put in your task, how much you charge. There are 3 categories after that: bonus time, average time, and then max time. The average time is the standard time that, in my humble opinion, that I feel the job should be done in. At the, on an average, the average person should be doing it in that time frame. Bonus time is the extra if you're doing it a little faster. So to give you an idea, the average time for a pant hem should be, and I'm doing a standard pant hem, should be 10 minutes. 15 minutes at the top end, but let's say 10 minutes is an average. There's no reason why it can't be done in 10 minutes. Bonus time is if you got that done in 5 minutes. That 5-minute pant hem, I have done dress pants in that time too. But what we're looking at is, let's say a jean type hem. Also, those hems are on like scrubs and, hospital pants, things like that, where you cut. I don't even mark half the time. If I'm doing a 1/2 inch rolled hem, I don't even mark it. I just cut it, go to my machine, do the hem, come back, press it, I'm done. That can be done in 5 minutes. So that's where it's considered bonus time. Not all the time, but that's a bonus. Then we have our max time. If somebody was working for me and they were doing a hem, I don't want to see them working on that hem any more than 20 minutes. And even at 20 minutes, I'd be cringing a little. So with those 3 times, over on the other side of this calculator, it will tell you what your average hourly income is. A basic pant hem at $15 an hour, done in 10 minutes, you will be working at $90 an hour. You have average time income, average max time income, and then your bonus time income. So also, let's say it took you 5 minutes to do it. Well, it's going to tell you how much you're going to be averaging an hour if you kept up at that rate. Then it also tells you your max time. If you're taking the little slower, but you're doing it at the max time, it will show you that as well. The next column, which is going to be the most important, it tells you your hourly rate check at your average time. And it will also tell you whether it's good, caution, or whether you're losing money. And that is where you're going to be seeing, oh, gee, I charged $10 for that alteration and it took me this long. I'm losing money on that. Then something has to change, whether you have to increase your price, speed up, or yeah, those are your only 2 options. The final 2 columns on this, what is great is it actually tells you how much money you're losing. These 2 columns are great, especially for anyone who employs sewers. If somebody is doing pant hems for you and they are taking 20 minutes to do every pant hem all the time, technically average time loss. With the average time loss, that company is losing $90 potentially an hour in wages, in income. If you could get your staff up to where they're working at max time, you're losing $135 an hour per person who is working at that rate, where you could be making $130 extra an hour. Those are crucial numbers to understand when it comes to business. It's not just what am I making, what could I be losing per hour? This profit calculator helps you figure that out. My profit calculator also has some standard alterations in it. And I think I do have one also. I'll see about getting it up with everything in it, with pretty much everything that's on a lesson. So for example, replacing a zipper pull on a coat where we're just replacing the zipper pull. See, Erin, and I know if you don't work as fast as me, you have to remember too that I've been sewing for over 35 years. So that's a big thing. I like to look at someone who cuts my hair. How long would it take me to cut my son's hair or anyone's hair? It would take me like forever because I don't know what I'm doing. Yet someone who has the right tools and they've done it, they know the routine, they have it done. And see, that's where we're going to get to. I'm curious, Erin, how long have you been sewing and how long have you been doing alterations? If you don't mind sharing that information with us, that'd be great, because it's just a matter of routine, practice, and then getting there. Knowing that if you are here now, let's say a pant hem's taking you 15 minutes, then that's fine. But the more you do them and the more you just keep working on it, it just gets easier. And one thing with pant hems, when it comes to pant hems, you're going to have lots of pant hems. When it comes to doing suit alterations, they don't come by as often. And that's where I really recommend going to secondhand stores and really practicing on those so you can get that skill up when those jobs do come through, because you're always going to be much better and much faster at those tasks that come across your table. You're going to get more practice on those as well. So do make sure you're getting practice on some of those bigger projects. This way, you're not just waiting for them to come in, because when I trained under Duke, pant hems came in like a dime a dozen. So when a suit came through, I'm like, oh, I'm trying to think, what did he tell me to do? Like, what did I have to do? What order? So then I'd have another suit come in maybe a week later. And it's when now, if I had known, I'd just gotten some secondhand ones and kept practicing. But back then I didn't. So it just took me a long time to build up to where I can do a suit hem in 45 minutes to 1 hour at the max. It's just because I can practice that at that point now, where before I did not have that. So get them so you can practice them. Start with one thing. Don't be overwhelmed. Don't do too much. Start with, your basic top stitch hem, which is the rolled hem, jean hem. Lay it down. Let's get it marked, mark, cut, go to the machine. Pants are this way. I starting with this leg first, fold it in, do the hem. Back up 20 years off, raising my kids 3 years ago. Start slow at first. Okay, yes, yeah. And like I said, don't worry. Just it's going to come with time and repetition, and start with the easy things and then build your way up. That's why I really insist on doing things very repetitive, everything in the same order, because you don't have to think. You just lay the pant down, front's facing me, legs are even, mark my inseam, mark where I'm going to be cutting, cut my line, transfer my marks, let's move to the machine. with my machine. If I have to change my threads, change my threads. I don't have to run far to get my threads should I need to change them. I have bobbins already worked ready here. Get that going, do the hem, finish, over to my iron. Get it pressed, we're done. Everything in a routine, so you're not having to think. Just do it all the same. What that does too is it takes out overthinking things. So back to our hems and our hourly rates and things here. So I do have a list of tasks as well as how long they should take. And why we have it here too is I have worked for a company that employed alteration people, and we had to have things done in a certain time frame. If I needed to maintain that $38 an hour back when I worked for this company, I could not take that long on a pant hem. I believe back then the pant hems were $10 even back then. So I had to do at least 4 pant hems. So ripping out the zipper in the pair of jeans. Have you had a chance yet, Erin, to see the video for the my jean replacement, where we take it out but we don't take out all the stitching? I'm curious if you have seen that video yet. It's important to see that, because we don't take out all the stitching in my tutorial. We keep most of that stitching in, and we do a secret, a little special technique. And even for a dress pant, unless it's really delicate, I'm ripping that zipper out. When I say rip out, I mean I'm ripping it out and trusting that the material has never torn on me. I've been sewing for over 35 years, never had anything tear on me. The only things that ever tore when I was ripping out might be a coat zipper that had more of that really delicate fabric. Let's say it was really airy or special. Even in the video, Erin, the video that I have for that, you're going to watch me do the whole alteration and chitter chatter like I do, and we're going to be done in 13 minutes, the whole video. So that's why it's so important to see this and to see that, oh, wow. And when I'm doing it, I'm not rushing. It's one of those things that, yeah, it's when you know how and you got the routine and you can get it done. I love getting things done quickly, just because I have more things to do. I have funner. I love doing alterations, mind you, but I have more fun sewing things. I want to make myself some clothes and do some other sewing. So I want these things to get done. And I always have a little fun story I like to tell. When I was 21, 22, and I just started sewing, I was working for myself. And so when I'm working by myself, I can entertain myself pretty good. I start making up games and making all my work into like a game. Even back then when I was 21, 22, I knew I was going to be doing teaching because I would talk out loud. I'd be, okay, we're doing this. And I would almost talk as if somebody's watching me. So what I would do is when I had a lot of jean hems to do, I used to make a game out of it. And I'd like to time myself, how long it would take me. How fast could I do this from, I got the jean, let's go, from the very, very beginning to the end. And I actually did it. My top time was 7 minutes from taking out what I needed to for my zipper. I took out my zipper, not taking out what I didn't need, and putting the other one in. I did it in 7 minutes flat. Mind you, I haven't had a chance to do that again lately because I haven't really tried. But then sometimes when you try, the doorbell rings, someone comes in, or the phone rings, or somebody disturbs me. But yeah, I used to make a game out of it. And without, see, it's fun. It's fun to do that. Yes, this way you up your game as well as you just make the time go by a little bit. So yeah, it's good to do things like that and have a little fun with it. So with that in mind, I have this calculator. What it does is it will tell you whether, like if you're using this calculator and you're not making enough, it'll tell you if you're not making enough money. Then you can decide, okay, is it my pricing or is it the time I'm taking? Now back to how I figured out my pricing for these. Back to a pant zipper. So if a pant zipper is to be done in, what do I have this here? Pant zipper replacement, average time 20 minutes. Bonus time is 15 and max time is half an hour. That's from taking out to putting in, you're done, you're hanging it back up on something. So with that half hour, here's what I'm looking at. If I want to make $60 an hour, do I charge $30 for the alteration? Can I charge $30 for the alteration for a zipper replacement? That's also a question you're going to need to ask. Some communities, that just might not ever work. If it's a depressed community where, people are just fighting to get by, you may not be able to do $60 an hour. Chances are you're going to have to gauge that too. And that's just one of those variables, but on average. In the city, a bigger city, people may be paying a lot more. They may be happy to be paying for an alteration somewhere $100 an hour. And if that's the case, then your half hour mark, that alteration could be $50. And somebody might not even think twice about paying you $50 for a pant zipper. Especially if it's a designer pant or something fancy smancy. If a pant, somebody's paid like hundreds of dollars for a pair of pants, then yeah, replacing a zipper and spending $30, they're not going to bat an eyelash at that. Sometimes too, it's not all just the value of the pant. If I got a pair of pants for free, $30 may seem like a lot. But you know what? It's just also one less thing in a landfill. And I like looking at it that way too. I'm not a big tree hugger, but I do want to kind of not be throwing everything away all the time. So I may charge anywhere from 35 to 20, or actually I charge $25 for both the zipper, the jean zipper, and a regular pant zipper. I charge $25, and that's in London, Ontario, Canada. So there's that little window there. So with that in mind, when I'm charging $25 and it's taking me 20 minutes, I'm averaging $75 an hour. And $75 is considered good on the spectrum here. If I'm doing that same pant hem in 15 minutes, which it can be done, but you don't want to be pushing all the time, but it can be done, you're going to be averaging $100 an hour. And even if you're doing it at the max time, it's $50 an hour, which still is not really bad. You've got to remember too that some jobs are going to be quick all the time. Pant hems, guaranteed. You've got a jean hem, you've got, your rolled hem, you're going to be doing it. You know exactly how long it's going to take. There's not going to be any glitch in that. But other projects may have a glitch and may take a little longer. So where I can make $180 out, if I had the volume, I can make $180 an hour in pant hems if I had that many pant hems. Then if something else takes me a little longer, then that's going to balance out. We're still going to have that balance. The one where you made more is going to help the one that you didn't make as much. It's still going to balance out in the end. I also have another calculator that I will make sure I've done up and gotten all the quirks out. It's actually my daily time calculator. So when I had staff especially, and I had work coming in, I needed to make sure I knew how much work was coming in each day and how much work one person could do or how much we could do as a group. So when someone brought something in, my calculator, I always wanted work done 2 days before they were picking up. That gives you that leeway in case you had a funeral rush or some sort of a rush or something happened. You still had a 2-day cushion to work with. So if someone brought in a garment and it was going to be a $50 job and they wanted it for Wednesday, I would book that in for the Monday, just before they want to pick it up, whether I had work now or not. Depends, and how quickly work's coming in. Whether it's going to be a slow period and things are going to be coming in hot and heavy, or whether it's going to trickle in. You can decide whether, okay, am I doing it for this week or am I putting it out to next week? So when I put it in 2 days before they're picking it up. So when I put that in, I just put in the tag number and then I also put in the time. And that calculator will also tell me I need to have $500 worth of work booked in for that day for me to, pay whatever I need to pay, whether it's employees or just myself, and for expenses and make a profit. So once I hit that mark, then that day is full. I won't put anything else in there, because if you overbook yourself, you're just causing a problem. It's going to be too much. You want to spread it out. So this way too, if something else comes in and I'm booking into my calendar, and let's say, well, they don't need it to 2 weeks from now, but I'm going to put it in for next week, and I'm just going to pop it in this day that hardly has anything in it. So you're balancing out that work. And the calculator also tells you once you're getting close to your limit. So you can decide, do I want to leave it at that? Do I want to leave it in case, a certain cushion in case you have a funeral rush or some sort of a rush? That's up to you to decide. But this way you're balancing out your work, and each day has in the dollar figure you need. And with that, you're not overbooking yourself too. Just writing a task down doesn't help you, because your dollar figure lets you know how much work you're going to be putting in with it. For example, when I have a wedding dress booked in, if I'm charging someone $600 to $800 in wedding dress alterations, and let's say I have one person working on it, that's one person's work for that day. I do it, and then I expect it to be done in that time frame. If I know they're supposed to be working at $60 an hour, 610 hours, then that wedding dress needs to be done in at least my 8 to 10 hours in order for me to make money. And of course, you're billing your hours because of that too. And we will talk about wedding alteration pricing too in just a second, because it's a little different, because it's more work. Anything that's more work. So with that in mind, I know one dress is going in for that day, because at $600, I know it's going to take somebody at least, 6 to 8 hours possibly to do that alteration. So yeah, that's one person's work. And so only one dress will go in there. So that calculator also helps you balance out what's coming in. So you just don't overbook, or you don't want to underbook as well. When you see a calendar, and I look at my one calculator and I see, okay, I have a week's full of work and it's all booked, then I know when I get all that done, I've made enough money for my expenses, I made enough money to pay me, and I've made enough money to make a profit at some point too. So it's just knowing those numbers and kind of keeping those visuals is very important when you're doing any kind of a business like this. So the Alterations Time-Profit Calculator, we will get that off to you, Erin, and anyone else who does want the profit calculator, let me know, and we will get that off to you. I think you'll find it very interesting, as well as it's very explanatory, tells you how to use the calculator, explains why the $50 an hour. Oh, hi, Erica. Nice to see you all the way from Glasgow, Scotland. Thank you for joining us, Erica. I'm curious, Erica, can you tell us a basic pant hem? So just any standard pant hem. Can you tell us how much is charged for some things, and I know it can vary, but just in general in Scotland, can you let me know? Let us know that too. Okay, so yeah, the profit calculator is great for that. Within the profit calculator, like I said, I also have times which I think things should get to. An example is a hoodie zipper replacement. So with that, I'm thinking of like just a fleece hoodie, no lining, or sometimes with a lining. I have that priced at $40 and 45 minutes. 45 minutes for average time, half an hour if things are going really good and smooth, which it can, and 60 minutes at max. So at $45, no, $50 we're charging. And if it takes even 1 hour, we're still working at $67 an hour, and that is good. Oh yes, yeah, $50 an hour still is good, but at 45 minutes, you're working at $67 an hour. So that's also good there too. So that's actually a really good hourly rate because you're still at that $60 mark. So it's an awesome tool to be using and to make sure that you're charging enough and you're not spending too much time, but it gives you something to work for too. Don't worry in the beginning if you're not working at that speed. It will come with time, just time and experience. I'm not sure how many of us actually watching today actually do video games. I'm talking the kind that the kids use with those fancy controllers and they're pushing this button and that button and everything is working on the screen. That type of video gaming is much, much more complicated and more challenging than what we're doing when we're sewing. And when I watch those kids pushing the button, this one 2 times and this one 3 times, and people are jumping and spinning and everything's going right, they didn't learn that just in one moment, one day. They practiced and now they're good at that. They don't even think about it. That's how we get when it comes to alterations. It's the same when driving a car. So Erica says that in Scotland, pant hems are anywhere from 8 pounds to 15 pounds. And if I'm correct, pounds is approximately twice the Canadian dollar, American dollar. I'll have to look that up. But yeah, if it is, then that might be anywhere from $16 to $30 in US or Canadian, in that US, North American frame there. So, okay, thank you for sharing that. That's great. And like I said, understanding what we charge it for our pant hems really helps us with other tasks. So we've got the pricing calculator here, which helps us with standard jobs. I have a button replacement as the average time 3 minutes, 2 minutes if you're fast, and at the max 5 minutes, and charging $3 a button. It's your time. I know it's just a button, but it's never just a button. It's always something. If it's just a button, the customer can put their own button on. And sometimes it's just easier to pay somebody else to do it. And buttons are one of those things too that when people say, oh, it's $3 a button, how much for 10 buttons? 10 times 3 is 30. That's the way it is. It's going to take me the same amount of time to put on 10 buttons times 1 as it does 1 button times 1, right? So just don't undercut. Just make sure you stand your ground. So, because it is your time. So those are things with pricing there and how to figure out for hours. And I'm also available, especially if you are a VIP customer or a VIP member. That's where I can work with you one-on-one, as well as exact questions for how things are going to cost. So when you're starting out, so let's think starting out, I'm charging pant hems at, let's say, $10, $15 for a pant hem, and I'm getting them done in my time frame. So a new project comes in. Let's say I'm kind of been training on doing, let's say, a coat zipper. And my coat zipper right now is taking me a little longer. I'm ripping them out, good, getting the rip out done in, let's say, 10 minutes, and clean the threads. Now I'm putting it in, and it's taken me a little longer to do that coat hem. You can only still charge what a coat zipper charges. You can't charge any more because you're taking longer. An example of that would be any profession. If you had someone come into your house to fix a pipe. Thank you, Erica. I'm glad that's good. I love that people are getting. I love getting the feedback. Believe you me, I do. I don't hear it enough, so I'm glad. So it's taken you longer to do that coat zipper because you haven't had as much practice. You can only charge so much. If someone came in to fix, or I took my car into a garage to fix the tires, and they said, well, it's going to take me 2 hours to fix those tires for you there, April. But I'm thinking, really? The last garage, it took me 45 minutes. Well, I'm kind of new on this. I'm thinking, well, I still shouldn't be paying you because it's taking you longer. There has to be a standard. And like we mentioned in the beginning, there are standards and there's standard times. So that coat zipper, winter coat zipper replacement, I have at $50 that I charge. Average time, 45 minutes. I have done some in half an hour, and it should take no more than 1 hour, regardless. I can only charge $50. Like for me, that's all I can charge. So I have to either get my time to that standard, which when it's a standard, you got to remember that it's not over and above someone's capability. If someone can do all this stuff like at bonus time all the time, well, that's good for them. But there has to at least be an average time that is expected, and that's what we can charge for. So we either get our time up to that. We can't charge more for that. We charge more when a job is more complicated and has more steps requires more education and more experience. Like when we're talking about formal wear and bridal wear, that's when you can charge more per task, not because I'm taking longer. I do know I've been on some Facebook forums, and when I've expressed that sort of sentiment, I get a lot of pushback because I've had some experienced sewers who don't like that concept, that being told that something has to be done in a certain time frame. And it's not me saying that, that's just any trade, anyone. It's just, if you go to any trade, that's just an expected. And taking longer on something because you're doing it the long way and you don't know a quicker way, that doesn't mean you're doing it better. You're just taking longer. An example I like to use, many years ago, let's do some math, maybe about 25 years ago, when getting false nails used to come out, you know, when they stick the thing on your nail and then put all that gel stuff on it and it's hard, and acrylic nails back then, I think it was referred to, and now they're gel nails and all that. The first time I ever got that done, the person who was doing it took literally 2 hours or more to do it. And back then it was new, so I didn't know any different either. To me, I'll spend 2 hours to sit here, and they charged me whatever it was back then, I don't remember. So then over time, when it became more prevalent, and as well as people were training for it more, and then now you have a business that is doing this. I go to this other place and like they're doing my nails like in an hour, then another place in half an hour. I'm like, wow, that's cool. And they are charging me for a half hour's work or an hour, however it is. So the pricing had gone down just to kind of balance out, but it's not that because they got faster. It's because now this became regulated. Not anybody could just do it. You had to have a certification for it, and therefore you had to have it done in a certain time frame. So now I knew if somebody was going to take 2 hours to do my nails, I'm thinking, okay, fine. If I have 2 hours to sit there and have my nails done, I will do that. But I'm not going to pay you for 2 hours because this person over here can do my nail, can do that same job, and they've got it down to 45 minutes. So it's not that the one person is much better. They just got a certain standard. And now when you go anywhere to get your nails done, you're pretty much know exactly how long it's going to take. And every place is the same. And every place has a similar pricing. Unless you go to some fancy boutique or some fancy spa that just charges more because they can and somebody's going to pay it. There's still always going to be that. But with that in mind, that's how we've got to look at alterations the same. A pant hem should only take this long. Your jean zipper can only take this long. Because also if you're going to be charging too much, you're going to price yourself right out of the market. No one's even going to pay for it. And yeah, that's where you also just got to keep that balance where if I charge this much, is somebody going to pay for it? And then also if they say no, you're not, don't beg them to come back. Don't change your price. You're better off to say no and have your customers that are saying yes, who see your value, see your worth. All right. I think I beat that one with a dead stick or with a stick for a while now. So I want to talk about how we're pricing bigger projects then. So when I say a bigger project, suits can be considered one of those, like a man's suit. Taking up the sleeves is a bigger project in itself. Once again, it's doing that repetitiveness, but it's still the same. You know, a man's suit sleeve, we're going to do it this way. We're taking in the side seams. The style doesn't vary as much as when it comes to formal wear and bridal wear. When it comes to formal wear, I'm thinking bridesmaid dresses, mother of the bride, full length dresses. Usually there's multiple layers. At the least, there's an outer layer and a lining. Some formal wear now is very cheap and just not that great. I'm not going to mention any company names, but a lot of the more popular ones in North America, and now you can buy a lot of this online as well. We're looking at formal wear bridesmaid dresses that are kind of like a knit, and it's very sheer and runs easily. There's virtually no boning in this anymore. That doesn't help your job either. But so when I'm talking about formal wear, we're talking about multiple layers, full length, usually satins and silks and shifty materials. Bridal wear, it's a whole different thing, but I want to just look at basic formal wear right now. It's still having an idea of a standard. When someone brings in a bridesmaid dress, first thing we're going to look at, let's say a hem, I look at the material. If it's like a satin and we're doing a narrow rolled hem, I'm going to be marking my hem with their shoes on and whatnot. And then when they're done their fitting, the first thing I like to do is take the dress from them. So while they're finishing their changing, I'm looking at the dress. I'm inspecting, first of all, how many layers are there. As you're pinning the dress, take note whether the layers are wonky or whether there's something that's off too, because you want to be able to address that. That can make things a little bit more challenging. But you're kind of thinking, this hem looks really kind of wonky right now. I'm going to straighten it out. But if there's anything you need to mention to your client, you're taking a mental note. So by the time my client comes back, I've already taken note of how many layers there are and how they're joined, if they're joined at all. I charge for a full skirt. Do I have that down here? Dress hem. I think I charge about $40 per layer. That's just doing if we're cutting it and doing a little narrow rolled hem. So therefore, if there's 2 other layers, 40 times whatever the number is. Some places will charge a little less for lining. I don't. if my lining is the same width as my outside, it's going to take me the same amount of time to do that hem. So I'm not going to charge any less. So I usually have my price and I know exactly. So therefore, when my client comes out, I can tell them, well, you got 3 layers here. I make sure they know how many layers they have, and it's going to cost this much money. And most of the time they don't say anything. If they do, gasp or something, I just explain to them there's multiple layers and how much time it's going to take me. And that's just it. I don't just stand firm, and just, if you say it with confidence, that's the thing, say it with confidence, because then they're going to be confident that you know what you know. And if worse comes to worse, they don't like it. I've had people take their things and go somewhere else, and that's fine. If you can find someone who's going to do it for less, go ahead. I can't be concerned about that. But also, I've had people take things and bring them back because the person doing it for less didn't do a good job. And believe you me, I'm charging the same amount of money, if not more, if I have to fix something up. So with that in mind, I do my hem. They come in and I'm inspecting things. If I'm taking something in on them, I do my fitting. And once again, I'm going to do the same thing. Take note while I'm doing my fitting. Is there boning in here already? If there's not, I kind of assess, am I going to suggest to my client that we add boning to make a good fit? You can't make a dress that isn't constructed properly fit well if it doesn't have the proper elements inside, like boning and interfacing. So with that in mind, I'll be trying it on my customer and I'll be assessing whether I'm going to suggest, whether during the fitting or after the fitting. Once I have them hand me out the dress while they're changing, and then I can take a look at the inside of the dress. Can I get into my lining easily? Is it open? Do I have to open up another seam in order to do this alteration? How easy is it to get inside? I'm assessing all that while they're changing, because that's going to help me to determine my pricing. I already know standards like semi-straight, like a full skirt to fuller. I already have those prices in my till. So I've got that figured out. All the things you kind of know, get it figured out. Then look at taking in. Okay, how do I get inside? Okay, it's this and this. So I'm going to charge the higher end of my taking in price. Let's say taking in, I know if I'm going to take in side seams and there's 2 layers and no boning, it's going to take me at least an hour. So I'm going to charge $60. If there's more detail, and then if there's boning, well, it could take more. So then I'm going to add an extra, I'm going to add some more time to that, an extra 15 to half an hour. So if I'm adding an extra half hour, then it's $90 for the alteration. Keeping it at that price because you know how much time it's going to take. So if you have to add stuff, then I suggest to them, in order to have a really good fit, we really need to be having boning in here. And I usually suggest that while we're doing the pinning. This way they're right there and I'm showing them. You see how if this is fitting here and it's sagging, if I put boning in the proper construction, it's going to stand straight. It helps them to see that better. But also letting them know that if they choose not to have it done, there are some things you just can't fix with a fitting. So making sure they understand that. But if I'm putting the boning in, well, how much is that going to cost me? Well, if I'm already going inside and doing some taking in, I'm already going to have it open. So let's say there's actually a layer to add it on. It's an extra $30 to add the boning because you're already inside. So it's on top of what you're doing. It's just kind of experience, but also just adding on top so they know how much they're paying. And you, over time, are going to understand how much time things are just going to take. So the next dress comes in. Oh, I just did one like this last week. So I know how it's constructed, or it's constructed similarly. The more you do the same type of alteration, you start seeing things repeating. And, oh, well, this is a lot easier to do now because this is about the 10th one that has come in. Those are things you're going to start noticing. Wedding dresses, in my opinion, I always want my students to get out of their mind that wedding dresses are hard because they're more complicated. What makes a wedding dress seem more complicated is it is made up of multiple layers. There are some wedding dresses that are skimpier and less material than some of the bridesmaid dresses I've altered. When I look at a Vera Wang dress, her name on it, so plain. Her dresses may have added inside. A good wedding dress is one where you can throw on your dress and you're walking out the door. It'll have proper support. It'll have proper fit. You won't need undergarments if it's a really good dress, but it'll have usually multiple layers of skirt, boning and fitting, and even a simple dress like a Vera Wang dress. When I picture her, it's very simple. There's not a lot of detailing. So it'll have your outer layer. It'll have like a lining, maybe another lining, interlining, which helps give some fitting, boning. But other than that, it's pretty much made the same as a bridesmaid dress. Yes, you may have some lace and some beadwork on it, but there's not a lot of difference. There just may be a slightly different technique that needs to be used. And yes, wedding dresses do vary a bit more in style. Bridesmaid dress, a lot of times you're going to have a bodice. Hopefully you have a bodice. Otherwise, I don't know if I want to go to that wedding, or I might want to go to that wedding. You're going to have a bodice, which is going to be usually lined, and the bodice could be flow into a skirt, or it could be joined to a skirt. Sometimes you have sleeves, sometimes you do not. Wedding dress, same, but you're going to have different styles depending on whether it's strapless, whether you have straps, whether it's sleeves or no sleeves, whether it's all one piece flowing down from the top. A lot of the same technique. If I'm taking in a wedding dress on the side seams and it's lined, I'm going to use the same video that I used for a bridesmaid dress taking in lined, or a skirt taking in lined. If I'm shortening a strap on a wedding dress, I'm going to use a similar technique as the shortening strap video. If there's beads and such on my strap, then yes, okay, I have to address the beads. How are we going to do that? That's where I'm going to be working at adding some more video once I get settled in the new studio on techniques like that. Whereas, okay, we have to address these beads. What do we do with the beads? Then we do the alteration. Then we either have to replace the beads or, now the beads, they're falling at the right place. Same with lace, lifting up lace to do an alteration, then putting it back down. But the underlying techniques are the same. When it comes to charging for wedding dresses, once again, it's a matter of where you're located, but also keeping to your hourly rate. An example might be a wedding dress skirt. From doing a full outside, I think I charge $50 to $80, depending on how full the skirt is. Therefore, and I'm talking, doing a narrow rolled hem. A lot of times too, when we're doing a wedding dress, we only hem the front to the sides. We don't hem the train. Unless the bride's really short and we need to kind of moderate at that train, a lot of times we're only going to hem the front and sides. So that's why I would charge maybe $50 just to do the front and sides of that wedding dress for one layer. If we're shortening other layers, then yes, I multiply that by my layers. Then if it has trim on it, let's say a lace piece that needs to be moved up, that's considered a hem with trim. Mind you, we're only doing the front and the sides. I charge at least $150 where I start with that. Let's say it's a hem with horsehair. The horsehair has to be undone in that front part. I will either have somebody take that out for me or I'll take it out with a blade. But if you have someone working for you who can take out or pick out lace for you in that front piece, then that helps you save time. But otherwise, I start at $150 because that figures at $60 an hour, a little under three, almost under three, about 3 hours work that I'm going to be doing with that, just for that one layer of hem. Therefore, if they have other linings underneath that, I'm still going to charge my $50 for plain ones underneath. So it's just having those standards, kind of having an idea how long it's going to take you, but where you're keeping at that $60 an hour rate, so you're not losing any money. I have had some jobs where I've started the job and it's taken me a long time. And it's not because it's a standard job. Maybe it's something I haven't done before. Maybe it's something it's my first time doing, and I thought I'd try it because I could. I either then have a set time, have that. Even worse is when they sew clothes into the lining. Yes, Erin mentions about the horsehair braid. And Erin, I kind of like it when it's sewn into that lining. To me, that's just like wow, that's one time I have to go through. So I will definitely do that in a video because like I said, where I love that, I think that's really quite easy to do. We will address that in the coming few, within the next, maybe within 6 months or so, once I get settled, because I find that actually quite easy. I'm taking home one of my pedestals so people can stand on. And what I will do is we'll make sure we have one of those. We will show how we're going to mark it and then how we're going to get that moved up, because I love doing those with that. It's all done in one. And I guess that's why I like looking at it as easy that way. I don't like looking at it as harder. But yeah, we will address that and we will get that. We'll make that horsehair braid that's looking worse seem easy. That's what we want to get to, is getting that seeming easy for you, Erin. So yeah, so I've done jobs where I haven't done them before. And if it takes me a little longer, then what I will do is just take note of that. If it's taking me longer because I know it's just going to take longer to do this all the time, should it come in, should I decide to take this job on again, then I'm going to adjust my price in my price list so that everyone who comes in is going to be paying a little bit more for that. I won't penalize the person I first told this one price to. But if it's always going to take me a little more because I just know that that's how long that's going to take, then I just adjust my price in my price list. I've done that before, especially when I started. I'd have my price list done up in my point of sale, and then I do a job and I'm like, wow, these are taking me like a lot longer because of whatever reason it is. So then I just pop I need to charge an extra, let's say $5 for whatever it is. Then I just change that my price list for future. Erin has also asked about, you find out how other sewists are charging by just calling and asking. What I did was, I remember when I was starting this latest location, I had a student of mine calling around. I had a student calling around to various alteration places for me. And another reason why I had them do that, in the yellow pages where we have everything listed where all the businesses are, I found that there was like many alteration places, but half of them weren't even open. They still had their listing in the yellow pages. So it kind of made me feel better. But I had someone call on my behalf. I had someone call and just say, hey, yeah, I'm just wondering, I have a pair of pants that need a hem. How much do you charge for a basic pant? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. And then I would also pick another alteration that I found with, let's say, a pant zipper, which was important, or sometimes a coat zipper. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I have a winter coat zipper too. How much do you charge for that? Okay. And then what are your hours? When can I bring them in? Blah, blah, blah. So then I've gotten from them exactly how much it costs. So then I would list it all out. And that's how I found out. I'm not good at calling people. I just have someone else do it for me, but it's just calling, pretending you're a customer and finding out. That's how you find out the variable of the pant hem and then maybe another bigger job. I like using the coat hem or the coat zipper because not everyone does it. So if they were to say, I don't even do coat zippers, well, I'm thinking, good. Okay, that's more for me because I'm doing coat zippers. But Sometimes too, where I'm from, coat zippers vary anywhere from $50 from what I charge up to $130. Some people do $1 an inch for, or $2 or $3 an inch for their zipper. Because it varies a lot, I just like to have that as a to know where my price fits in, that I'm making money, but also that I'm not undercutting too much. So that's one way to find that. If a client isn't happy with a job, now that's why when you work with your client, having certain safeguards for yourself is important. Safeguards for me, you can find those in the manual, and that's when working with a client, determining things like how much you're hemming something. Having safeguards in place helps you protect your work, because otherwise then it's a he said, she said, the customer's always right, even when they're not right type. So for example, someone comes in, pair of pants. They say, I want my pants hemmed 3 inches. And you say, oh, okay. You make sure that, I've heard $3 a foot for rolled hems on from. Okay, yeah, we can see. And I guess working that out, how $3 a foot for, Erin mentions for doing hems on rolled hems, seeing what that works out for. The reason I'm not a big fan of doing per foot is this. When I worked for that alteration company, when they did pant hem, this is back in the day, and I think we have this now, where you can have a pant hem, a narrow pant hem that's like on the fold 6 inches flat, so we're talking 12 inches. Then you have a dress pant, which works out to about 8 to 9 inches on the fold, so up to 8 inches, 18 inches around. Then you have like palazzo pants, or those really flowy pants. So they used to charge by when the pant hem is laid out flat per that way. So if it was up to this, it would be this much money. So when it hit like 11 inches, they charged like $2 or $3 more. But what if it's like 10.45, or what if it's 11.25 inches? When you pricing things like that, customers don't want to be paid. I don't want to pay $2 more for a 1/4 inch extra more from this price. That's where I find that a little, it's okay, but that's where if your customer knows that, then you kind of have that variable. That's where I like having that flat rate. If it's, I look at it and I see, okay, that's considered just a full hem. It's fairly full. When I lay it out, let's say it's like 2 meters, 1 meter flat, or a little over 2 meters, or in that range. That's my $40 one. Oh, this one's, now we got this far. That's my fit $60. It's experience that's going to help you to know that, as opposed to exactly the width. Plus also, using a standard per foot on chiffon is much more challenging than a satin or a taffeta. So that's also where a set amount per foot, you're going to spend much more time on a chiffon. Really, when I say chiffon, they're really shifty and move all over type hems. You're going to spend a lot more time on that one, and then on a more sturdy fabric. So make sure on your paperwork that you both get, then if they want it 3 inches, then make sure you don't just write 3 inches down on your paperwork, because you have no idea how this pant fits whoever's wearing it in the first place. So you hem it 3 inches, and then the person who is, whoever the pant's for tries it on, it's way too short. All you know is you hemmed it 3 inches. You can supply the 3-inch piece that you took off, but you're now in the wrong, and we don't know who messed up here, and it's always going to be you. So what I like to do, and I don't always do all the time, and then I've been bit in the butt with this. When someone says they want a pant hemmed 3 inches, take a second, lay out that pant, measure an outseam or an inseam of whatever that pant is. It doesn't matter. Let's say we do the outseam and it's 35 inches. 35 minus 3, you're going to make that pant when it's done, and you're going to write this on your tag, 35 minus 3, 32 inches outseam. Therefore, when they take that pant home and whoever tries it on, it's not right, you have on your tag that you told them and they agreed, the finished pant's going to be 32 inches. As long as your pant is 32 inches, it doesn't matter at that point. You did it to the right length. If it's not right and they're really upset, this is where you kind of gauge. Are they a new customer? Have they been in before? Are they one of those ones who, that you've never had a problem with before? With your safeguard, you really shouldn't even have to deal with that. You just say, well, this is what we agreed to. I can hem it again or lengthen it if you can, but it's going to cost you again because this is what we agreed to. Or you bite the bullet one time and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. I will redo this hem, lengthen it, half an inch or whatever, or do whatever you need to do. But it's the only time you're going to do that. And if you have a good system like mine, where you can put those in your notes, you're going to know that you've done this one time, but that's it. Having that safeguard helps you prevent that though. Customer brings a pair of pants in. I want it hemmed to 32-inch inseam. Okay, explain to them about inseams. They're not always accurate, but I will make this pant 32-inch inseam. It's on my note. This is what we've agreed on. I make it 32 inches. If they don't fit, well, then we do our own adjustments. We do that afterwards. We let them know that, okay, it did not fit. Well, we did it to 32. prove it. See, 32. I can lengthen or shorten it, but it's going to cost you again. What I tell my customers is if I pin the customer, I guarantee the length. If it's not right, I will do it 10 times till it's right. And most customers aren't going to take advantage of that, or you'll know those customers. I've had one customer who too long, too short, too long, too short. After a while, I think I moved away and I don't have to deal with her anymore, which is good. Fine. That's fine. Very few and far between. But other than that, I tell them if I pin you here and it's not right, I will fix it at no charge. If I don't pin you and I take either an inseam, an outseam, hem it 3 inches, whatever that they give to me, if it's not correct, then I'm going to have to charge them again. Most people are happy with that. And a lot of people, especially men who hate trying things on, don't want to pay more than once. So then they will take the time to try it on. Men like inseams. You know the person. They've been wearing the same waist pant since they've been in high school and the same inseam. Well, when a man brings in another pair of pants that is especially cut different than the one they have on, and they say to me, I usually take this type of inseam. I explain to them inseams aren't very reliable because depending on how close it fits to your crotch, it can vary. So I let them know that I can hem your pant to this inseam, but if it's not right, then I'm going to have to charge you again. Most men go over to the change room right away. They'll try it on. And what I like to do, especially if the pant is cut differently, I will actually measure the inseam after I pin it. And a lot of them are surprised to see, oh, wow, you're right, that isn't the same. Well, it's because this pant is cut differently than this pant. And so they will, and if it's exactly that inseam, good. I don't mind saying that, okay, yeah, you're right, that's good. But because it fits differently in the rise or in the crotch, it can vary. So that's where I will do something usually once or twice, or no, once. And then after that, no, you have your safeguards so you know exactly how things are going to fit. If you pin something on somebody, then you know that you've pinned it the way you want, how you're going to be reading the pins and do the work. Another thing is what happens if you totally ruin something, which can happen. Life is a numbers game. If I have one customer and one customer is happy and I do one job perfectly perfect, I have 100% rating. But then you have hundreds of customers coming in. You have hundreds of personalities coming in. And some people are going to have a good day and some people are having a bad day. And that's when you're going to have that variable. You're going to have a good day. And sometimes you're going to make a mistake that tells you to slow down, to reassess your process. And that's when, if you totally ruin something, just have in the back of your mind that, well, I'm going to face up to it and I'm going to end up buying this customer something new. Just make sure you're really careful on those things that can't be replaced or that are very expensive. But I find if I had an issue with a product, it was usually a pant hem or a very inexpensive garment. That something just went awry and I ended up having to buy a new thing for them. In the service trade, especially today, a lot of businesses don't own up to their quality. They're quick to make it the customer's fault. So when someone comes in with an issue, then it's just saying, oh, let me take a look at this. You're right. I'll be happy to fix that for you. Lots of customers don't expect that. They expect to be told that they're going to have to pay again and it's not their fault. If it is your fault, then fix it. If it could be their fault, but maybe just a little adjustment here and there will make them happy, I will be happy to tell them that, this is not my fault, whatever reason, but you know what, I'm going to make that adjustment for you just because, there might have been a misunderstanding or communication. I'll do it for them. But yeah, I just knowing in my mind that, okay, if a customer or even an employee of mine melted something and I have to replace it, well, we don't like doing that, but we will own up to it and just make it right for the customer. It's the least that we can do. And a lot of times then you have a happy customer. I always say, I'm good, I'm not perfect. So that is one thing that it's not the fun thing to do. I hate being a grown-up sometimes and doing those hard things, but sometimes we have to do those hard things. Let's look at our time and some of our questions. Does anyone else have something they'd like to ask before I go? I've got my unhappy customer list. If somebody wants something taking in further. Erin had asked that, yeah. What happens if a client asks, taking in pants or outfits is one of those things. That's where you tend to have that more. When pinning a client for something, taking in side seams, waist, I find you need to read your client. And here's why I say this. I've had clients and taking a waist and they don't say anything. When I ask them, like to me, I'll pin it. I feel it's snug enough, not too snug. I ask them, how does it feel? Does it feel good? Like I can tell them what it looks like, but only they can tell me how it feels. Some people are more sensitive than others. And when it's taking in, it's actually uncomfortable for them. And they're afraid to say anything. You'll get that customer. Like I said, it's a numbers game. Sooner or later, they will come along. I read to the customer. If I pin something, and if they don't tell me right away, yeah, that feels good. If they hum and haw or even hesitate, if they're if they don't tell me right away, I know there's a problem. Even if after that, they go, yeah, it's good. I know it's not good. There's a problem. If they're not happy right away, there's a problem. Or I draw it out of them because I know I've had it happen to me before. And this one woman, I took in the pant and it hurts. Can you let it out a little bit more? So then I let it out and it's still not good enough. And I'm like, well, I'm letting it out. Just let it out like maybe a half inch all the way around. Well, I did that about 4 times with this pair of pants. And because once it is pinned, I let them know, tell me, how does it feel? Does it feel comfortable? If you're pinning something that you need to stay on, like a strapless dress, does it feel like it's snug, that it's not going to go? Because they have to move and they have to be able to dance without feeling like it's falling down. Yeah, making sure that they're comfortable and getting that feedback, because they need to know that if they don't tell you, then what's going to happen is you're going to do the alteration. It's not going to be right. And if it's a wedding dress and you're spending 2 hours on an alteration and then you have to adjust it again, they need to know that I'm going to have to charge you again because I pinned it. You said it was good. I did the alteration to that. And we're not changing it just a little. We're doing a lot. I can't keep doing this all the time because then you'll lose money. So it's just very clear communication. And is this a good customer? Getting to know your customer and how they behave with their hairdresser and everyone else. If they're giving you a hard time, chances are they give everyone a hard time. So it's getting to know them, but being firm and being in control, making sure they know that they need to let you know how they like their outfits to fit and how it to feel. So, well, let's see. Sort of on that line, Erin had also asked what to do when an alteration takes longer than you quoted because you ran into unexpected steps. And part of that is experience, knowing what is going to be involved. And like I said, just before you quote them, knowing if there's different layers, if there's boning, if you have to replace beadwork. A lot of that is stuff that's going to be right in front of you when you do take the garment in. So beadwork is one of those elements that it's hard to nail down a price. But when it comes to bridal wear, you can see an outfit when it comes in. We're taking in, let's say, the side seams. I can see there's lots of beadwork on here. It's then, while they're doing that changing, you have the garment and you're assessing. How am I getting in here? How am I going to replace this beadwork? How much am I going to take off the beadwork? How am I going to take that off? It's assessing all that. And when it comes to beadwork, don't be afraid to leave something a little open-ended. You know your pricing. For this job's going to take this much. I'm going to charge you this much to put bust cups in. A bustle's going to take this long. Bang, bang, bang. All these alterations are going to cost this. When it comes to the beadwork, because it doesn't come across all the time in the exact same dress all the time, you may have to leave it a little open-ended. Say, this amount, these jobs are going to cost this much. I know that. But when it comes to replacing this beadwork, how fussy, sometimes too, a customer might not be as fussy, but I'm going to have to leave this open. It's going to take me, let's say, maybe 3 hours to fix the beadwork, which is going to be approximately 3 times 6, $180 for beadwork. But maybe then it could be a little bit more depending on how solid the beadwork is. So yeah, it's sometimes you got to leave that open-ended with the customer, and they've got to be able to say, okay, I'm not going to nail down that beadwork to exactly 2 hours work, because at 2 hours I'm going to be done, and if I'm not done, if that's all you're willing to pay me for, we might not be done that beadwork, right? So it's not a bad thing to kind of leave that open-ended if you're not sure. I'd like to share some ideas. I've actually, there's another person I watch when they do bridal alterations, and I've learned some just from them, some easy ways to get around some of the beadwork, how to not make it all fall apart when you start working on one and you're lifting up beadwork and all the beads are falling all over the place. I found it quite enlightening too when I worked at a bridal shop and they had this whole bowl full of all these like little pearls and little silver beads and round clear beads, just random ones. So I'm thinking, oh, when I do this dress, when I take off this beadwork, I have to make sure I save every little bead so I can put it all back in the same spot. They didn't do that. They just took from this random bowl and they just were adding beadwork on. This looks like it's looking pretty good and it's looking like this. And it was beautiful and turned out. And it took a big headache. Like that stress was gone after that. So yes, I will send you, I'll put out my price list too. I will have the list done for pretty much all the alterations that are offered. Mind you, like when it's things like, let's say we're taking in a skirt, taking in the waist, tapering down the sides, and hemming. It's just a combination of all those together. But yeah, I will have that done up too. And I will have, when this video is posted to YouTube, I will make sure those are all links. Make sure those who want to get the Alterations Time-Profit Calculator, Erin has requested that, so we'll make sure that gets out to her, and anyone else who wants the profit time calculator. I will also include that also the other calculator for when you're putting work in. We'll have a link for that, and also the price list. So I'll make sure that's included into that as well. Yeah, like I said, I love doing alterations. I love working on bridal wear. So whenever I get an opportunity, now let me correct that. I used to love doing it for work. Now I love teaching. So I would not want today to be starting to do bridal wear once again and being paid or people bringing stuff in anymore. No, don't love that anymore. That ship sailed a while ago. I want to really focus on my teaching and helping other people get the skills to make those jobs that seem big, easy, to get the work done so that you can, move on. And when you get a job done quickly and wow, look, that only took me this long to do this and I'm doing the next one. When you can get your quota of work right now, like just a little bit if I do my 3 coat hams a day, that for me is like $150, $150 a day for me when I don't have a storefront anymore. I'm like, yeah, that's good. I do three coat zippers. I'm done like in a few hours. I'm good. That's what we want to get you to, where you're doing, I have $300 worth of work to do today. Hey, I've got a suit coat, I've got this and a zipper and how many pant hams? I'm going to have that done before noon. That's where we want to get you at, where you're not spending all day doing one thing and it's feel like it's sucking the life out of you. Yes, everything. Michelle Shorman says, I appreciate when you say everything is not hard, you just need to know how to do it. And I think on the top of my website or one of the pages, that's and in my manual, that is the key. Everything is easy when you know how. And that's what I want to teach you is the how. Before now, learning alterations was always an apprentice. So you had to find someone who's willing to train you. Hopefully that person even knows what they're doing. And do they even know the quick way? I want to show everything and have it all. This is the way here. This is how it's done step by step, all the time, the same way, so that it's done quickly and efficiently, but done professionally. A lot of people don't have the time to teach or train, let alone young people nowadays. If you ask me, if they don't have time to do anything, they're not going to apprentice because you tell me everything right now. I want to be able to look up this right now, and I want every step. I don't want to have to wait for someone to bring in a skirt for me to hem, for me just to learn how to hem it. And that's why creating the curriculum was so important to me, because it's everything under one umbrella. Everything you need to know right here, so that somebody comes to your door with, Duke Taylor used to tell me this, somebody brings something you don't know how to do yet, April, don't you turn it down. You just smile and say, yes, I can do that for you. Back then I just call in Duke and he would tell me how to do it. But now, as a student of the Jackson Sewing Academy, someone brings in a particular, let's say a men's pant, a Docker's pant that has a zipper. Oh, okay, sure, I can do that for you. And it's going to cost you $25. Okay, you'll get up to the time, don't worry. Comes in. Okay, where's that video? Okay, oh yeah, that makes sense. Do a practice on something else or do it on that pant. Let's do it. Step by step, you've done that pant. There you go. Customer's out and running and you're just learned something new. You don't have to know everything all at the same time. You don't have to know everything before you take on your first customer. Just learn as you go. And if you have time, go through the curriculum and practice. I'm up to zippers now. Now I'm doing the jean zipper. Oh, good. Okay, let's get a couple of jeans and practice that zipper technique. Let's get a couple of zippers and practice my ladies dress pant or the men's dress pant technique. Now I'm down doing this thing. When you can practice, get some items and practice them. Therefore, you've done them. Weave them once or twice. Because like I said, there are going to be garments or things that come through that are be more frequent. And then there are going to be ones that are less frequent. As long as you know how to do the less frequent ones, then when they come in, refresh, look at the video again. As long as you have access to the videos, you can look at it again and then practice it again with something else, and then you're on your way. But, well, it was great talking to everyone today. I always worry, I think, can I talk for 2 hours? Sure, I can, especially when it's about sewing. I can talk forever about sewing. I'd like to thank everyone for who watched today and everyone who's going to be watching on YouTube. She was a rare customer. It just was that one. Thank God they're not all of them. But yeah, it's just reading the customer and knowing that if they don't say something right away, if you have any questions, even when you're watching, when it's posted on YouTube, send me your questions. I will answer whatever I can. And usually within the blogs on the Jackson Sewing Academy, anyone can look at the blogs. I have blogs on pricing, various ones on pricing. A lot of them are on pricing, but how I priced, how I make money with my pricing, you can find that information there. Otherwise, there are many information on there, and I'm going to continue adding more. I'm looking forward to getting settled in my studio. I'm looking forward to getting back to doing some more live alterations. What I'd like to do when it gets back to doing my alterations online or like on Saturdays, I'd like to take a day like a Saturday and do a pant hem. I'm going to walk you through a jean hem. We're going to do it from beginning to end. Let's say another type of rolled hem, which would be like on a nurse's pant. Then after I do those, let's do a Docker's, the 1-inch rolled hem from beginning to end. I'm measuring, cutting, going to the machine, done, hang up. Now we're going to do a cuff. Do the cuff, beginning to end. Whenever it's a project like that can be done like within a little window, I could probably get through all pant hems in 2 hours. But then also, if it's bigger things, but I want you to be able to see me doing them. If I took it off the rack, did the hem, I know you can see it in the videos, the tutorials, but I want you to see that what you see in that video is exactly what I'm doing if I were to pull that off a rack today to do. And I want you to see that, yes, it can be done that time, but in the routine, without necessarily having to rush, but to see, yeah, and I will show you my blind hem. I can't wait to get out my blind hem, and I will show you the blind hammer that I used for that. Definitely, that would definitely be in that. So as it looks right now, I'm not going to be set up next Saturday. All my stuff gets moved from here to the house on Thursday. Renovations will be next week. So I will be ready to do another live 2 weeks from now. I will be set up, and I'm going to be so excited working from home and back to focusing on doing the live video and creating new content and just interacting with my students. And I just love running the whole online business. It's so much fun. And so I'll be working on that, and we'll be ready in a couple of weeks, and then getting really focused on getting that new content in there so that you get equipped with the skills that you need so that you can either work for yourself or others and make some income. Thank you everyone for coming, and already 11:58. Have a great Easter weekend. Do take time, especially tomorrow, which is Easter Sunday. Do nothing. Just remember why we have Easter Sunday. It's not because of the Easter bunny, though yes, it's great with little kids. Easter is so much more than what our society sees it as. It's such a great, one of the pivotal markers of the Christian faith, and definitely take time to enjoy your family and to take time to take stock of your life and just remember why this weekend is so important to all of humanity. Thank you, and I can't wait for us to meet again.